Welcome to the Woman Rising podcast, hosted by Kathy Hartenstein and Zephy Devi, where we elevate and celebrate inspiring women on the rise. In this podcast, we talk to women from all walks of life about their soul's journey, the obstacles they overcame, and how they embody their feminine power. We hope to elevate women's place in the world, showcase their contributions, and provide inspiration for all women to rise to their fullest potential. Today, our guest is Larisa Stow, an accomplished and revered musician who has performed all over the world with her band Shakti Tribe. Larisa wants to wake, shake, and create a vibration-raising revolution with her edgy blend of mantra-infused rock. Her energetic world beat sound takes you on a magic carpet ride of sonic spiritual bliss, sending you afloat in the high vibration of sacred mantra, while simultaneously grounding you deeply into the earth through visceral body rhythm. She is also an intuitive and transformational life coach and has been dedicated to changing lives in every aspect of her work. Larisa has been a long-standing leader in Women Arising, and we are very proud to have her as our honored guest. Welcome, Larisa. It is our true pleasure to have you here today. Women Arising has been very lucky to have you participate in our programs over the last several years. You've been very integral to our work because you've done a lot to uplift and enlighten women. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kathy. Thank you, Zephy, for creating this conversation. Yes, and we're so lucky to have you because I know you love conversation. You love, you do. Especially with the women, the conversations that we generate together are very nourishing. So for you, that you participate in so many Women Arising, what is Women Arising is for you? And I know not just in participating in our Women Arising, but also in your own life. And what is the emotions and, the feelings that when you hear Women Arising, what does that make you feel? And, intuitively and grounding in a sense, I want to say, just here on this earth. No? Well, it makes me feel excited, and it speaks to me of what is happening right now, and finally the embracing of the feminine, seeing the feminine and receiving the feminine as valuable and necessary for the growth of the collective consciousness for all of us. It feels really, really good. Really good. And it feels really good because understanding, where we've been as women, as a collective in the past, we've experienced being so marginalized, and Mama Earth herself, has experienced being oppressed and dominated. And we've experienced that. I think the feminine overall has. But it's changing, and you can see that changing. You can see it changing through media. Even in the stories that are being told now, you have these, female leads and that are leading the way, where normally we would see the masculine leading the way. It's like left and right. All these movies are coming forward where it's like, yes, like it's the woman, or the young woman, depending upon, even in Disney, we see all these movies now in Disney where it's the young Shiro rising up in ways that we haven't in the past seen. So yeah, it's exciting. How does it resonate in your own journey? In my own journey, feeling the world and feeling the energy of the world in the sense of just, from being a kid, from being a child, and seeing all the opportunities for men, and realizing that if I was going to really create what I wanted in this lifetime, that it was going to take even more of that internal strength to stand up, even when it's uncomfortable. I experienced that. Just as an example, when I was young, one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to be an actress. And when I was in college, I went to this acting coach, wonderful acting coach, John Lynn, and in Burbank, California. And in our class, it was mostly young women and a few men in our class. And the women were like light years, like just like light years, I would say, more talented than the men, more connected to their craft. And yet it was the men, the young men, who would come back and get job after job. And then we would see that most of the parts were written, for the masculine. There were tons of parts for men and very few parts for women. Mm-hmm. And it was very discouraging to be a young woman and look around and going, oh my God, like the women in my class are so incredibly talented. I felt like I was watching Academy Award performances all the time. And it was like rare, that they would get work. Whereas the masculine, our guys in class would come in and like, I got a job. And I'm like, oh my God. And he's not that good, So that was a really big experience for me. And also when I was going out there, I had one experience where this director sat me down and said, he said, you're really talented, but you're not pretty enough to be my lead. And you're too pretty to be the best friend. And that made such like an impression upon me at that time. And that was my experience, as I was at the time a little bit too pretty for the best friend. That was my experience. And yet I was not pretty enough. I was not like knock dead, that gorgeous, model look either. So I knew it was going to be more of a challenge at that time. And it was like, okay, I'm going to have to, align even stronger within myself in order to face these challenges that I'm experiencing and learn how to dance with it. So, yeah.
I relate to that because my background was in theater for such a long time. So I know that there is that sort of level of sexism and this way in which women aren't even afforded the opportunities, even the plays that are written and things like that as well. When you're in, and I love that we've sort of already brought in your life journey, but I'd love to hear about like your life's journey and how you got to where you are today, because you really are a great example of women arising and all of the work that you do and how you really strive to empower women. But how did you kind of become that? What was that journey for you?
Well, I think, coming up against the no's, that we're talking about, when I started feeling like, what? The parts that I want to express, like that I would, if I were to write my parts, that'd be one thing. But now that means I become a writer, right? Rather than going out there and auditioning. I'm like, if I could write my part that of the next part I wanted to play, that'd be awesome. But I didn't see that the parts really existed that I wanted to play, that I felt like would be my, that would really resonate with me. And so that's when I started leaning into my music more, because I knew that with music, I could write songs that would express what I really wanted to share and how I experienced the world and how, and working with my own spirit, how to uplift myself and how to keep myself inspired and healthy in this life. So that had a great impact. And it was actually my acting coach, John Lenn. He saw that I was pursuing music and acting at the same time and understanding what women face. He said, Larisa, if you're going to do this, he goes, I'd like to support you. He was going to like put together a production for me, a one-woman production, like to showcase my talent. And he said, but I really want you to focus 100% on acting, because you're going to have to give it everything that you've got to really make it. And when he said that, it like struck something so deep. And I'm like, you're right. I'm going to have to give what I want to do, everything I've got. And that's when I realized, I'm like, you know what? It's music. So I shifted my path because I could create the stories and the messages that I wanted to create and share with the world. more than anything else. It was, I think, even more so than, okay, I want to sing. It was like, I have a story and a perspective that I feel like will make a difference in the world with myself and with others. And so I chose that path. And so thus begun, thus begun that path in music and in shaping the narrative. Because I think it's, for me, what I've experienced as women, if we want a world that is healthier and that is, I don't know why this keeps coming to my mind, but wild. Um, a world that's a little more wild and not so in this box of our condition, to look at things. Like with women, I feel like we are born to be more wild. We're more connected to our bodies, I think, overall, in the sense, that we are connected to the cycles and how we feel, or we tend to be more in tune with our emotions. We are like nature. We are more connected to nature, I believe. And we're meant to be wild. Nature's meant to be wild. And wild is wonderful. Almost poof, you know. Yeah, wild is just, it's needed. It's like, the Ma, the way she rises up and, her vines, just take over, if you see these buildings, that have been there for hundreds of years, she just starts to come in and, bring all of her magic and bring all of her own healing energy back to the earth. And I feel like that's what's needed, that we as the divine feminine are meant to be more wild and bring more of that wisdom back to this world.
And that's what they have trying to put in structure. And I think the structure is breaking down now, and that wildness is coming out. And it's okay to be wild. It's okay to be that nature of the wind, the trees. I mean, I was in the desert and I saw trees just going like this, and the vines going everywhere, and some vines going on the ground, and some vines were going up to the earth, to the sky. That is what women are about. The opposite.
I love that. And I think that wildness is so evocative. And I feel like people can really surrender and be sort of discover things about themselves inside of that. So that's very exciting. What do you think, like in your journey, are the things that really shaped and defined you? I mean, I know you took a lot of your music into prisons. I know you did some really kind of amazing things and traveled and found a lot of deep connections for yourself. I'd love to hear about some of the things that you felt really shaped and defined you in your life's journey.
What tends to define me is like when I meet up against things that are challenging, that tends to define me more than anything. When I was in my 20s, I didn't know it, but I came down with rheumatoid arthritis, really young. Like I woke up when I was 22 years old and had a hard time getting out of bed. And it took a while to find out what was going on, but I became so sick that in my 20s, I got really close to leaving my body. And that shaped me so intensely. It got me on a path of healing, first of all. I would say like I had started doing yoga in my 20s and I appreciated it and I liked it, but I wasn't very disciplined about it. And when I came down with rheumatoid arthritis, it totally changed me. Because first of all, I had, and I think Zeffy knows this, but I had a full-on healing experience at St. Peter's Cathedral with an angel. And I was told that I would be healed, which was incredible. But I was also told that I had to do yoga for the rest of my life in order to to stay healthy. And so my commitment to health and well-being and to self-care, because I wasn't really aware of the need for self-care when I was younger. I just kind of did whatever I wanted to do and wouldn't really eat, at a good schedule, and I really wouldn't exercise. It's kind of like I've been more Vata, in the Ayurvedic, where I just so in the mind, in the creativity, let me just do what I want to do right now without really thinking or feeling into consistently taking care of myself. Even things like drinking water, like just not really present to that, So getting really sick and hearing that I needed to do yoga put me on this path of healing. And it's like, okay, if I'm going to do yoga daily, then I should teach yoga because for me, if I teach something, I will do it. But if I'm not teaching it, I might not do it. I'm a little, I consider myself a little bit of a sticky wicket that way. So I'm a little tricky, and understanding myself, like what motivates me, like if I'm sharing things with other people, I get really excited about it because for whatever reason, that inspires me, when I'm sharing with others because I love doing things in community. So that got me motivated to teach yoga. And then in teaching yoga, I started working with mantra and prayers. And then 9/11 hit, and 9/11 changed everything for me. I went from doing my singer-songwriter, the female singer-songwriter thing, to bringing more mantra and prayers into my music because I needed to for my own healing and how I was perceiving the world at the time. It's like it's what I needed. And that completely shifted my whole path. So I went from, singing in the clubs in LA to singing in festivals, and singing for Amma. So it completely, shifted that whole trajectory. And I worked with Thomas Ashley Ferrand, who was an incredible teacher of mantra. Love him. He's no longer in his body, but he was a great teacher for me and helped to shift and shape where I am today. But yeah, it's like 9/11. That was a dark time, right? Getting rheumatoid arthritis, very dark. I've had so many physical issues in my life because my mama took DES when she was pregnant with me. And it is a hormone disruptor, and many young women have major infertility issues and are high-risk cancer, cervical, ovarian, uterine cancer, breast cancer because of DES. And I am no exception. So to that, I've experienced just outrageous health issues from my mom taking that. And she did the best thing she knew how to do. I don't blame my mama at all. But it just wasn't tested enough, even though it had gone through all the testing and passed, FDA and all that. It became something that has been very, very challenging for my body. And yet, if I hadn't gone through all of that, then I don't know where I'd be, because of going through that and all those contractions. It created these big, huge learning curves in those contractions that created even greater expansion for me in this life. So yeah, I am in a completely, I would say, different place than I would have been had I not experienced all those health challenges and hadn't come so close to death, like ridiculous amount of times. It's like I've had at least 3 major, being on there on the edge of death, which is crazy. It's just crazy that I've talk about women are rising. It's like I have risen, from the ashes, so to speak, of major illness 3 times in my life. And it just keeps coming around. People say, can't you learn differently, Larisa? Like, why do you have to do it this way? Don't you want to take the easier path? And I'm like, obviously my soul in this life chose this body that came in with a major challenge, just from the get-go before I was born. And it's the path of the wounded healer, it's a path of Chiron, and it's my path. So my blessing has been that I've taken all these contractions, and I feel like I look at it like, a bow and arrow, where you pull back that bow and arrow really, really hard and it's very contracted. But then I go like this, I want to go over there, with that contraction. I point my arrow like there, and then shoo, I release it, and it catapults me to somewhere else that is beyond where I would have been had I not experienced that much of a contraction, right? So would I like to do it a little bit easier? Yes, I would. And yet this is where I am, so talk about shaping me. I would say the contractions, the challenges have been the biggest aspects that have shaped who I am.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And, I'd love you to talk a little even more about that concept of the wounded healer, because I think that is a really interesting concept, and kind of like, by being shaped by the things that are our obstacles, like what are the major lessons that you learned, or the things that kind of you really felt you evolved into?
Well, I'll tell you, like, one of the most recent experiences that I had was in 2019, which was, it was the most intense. I mean, they're all intense, but it seems like the one that you just went through kind of thing, it seems to be the biggest, right? In 2019, I was on my deathbed. I was in the hospital, and the doctors were talking about me being in sepsis, and they didn't know what to do to pull me out of it. They didn't know what was going on with my body. I didn't know what was going on with my body, and I felt really, really let down by the whole medical establishment, by my doctors. I felt like, where are you? It's like everybody disappeared. I was just in a hospital bed, and they rarely came in, and when they did, they just were like deer in the headlights, had no clue, just kept me on fluids. And I realized they weren't going to heal me. That wasn't going to happen from the outside. And so there was a night I was in the hospital, and it was Thursday night, right before Good Friday. So, it was in April. And I had this experience where first of all, I'm going to be really honest with y'all right now, and how it all opened up. So I'd been in the hospital, and they'd been giving me like Oxycontin and all these things to try to, I believe I might have even had some morphine in the hospital. I'm trying to think, probably, if I can't remember if I had it right at that time, because I was having massive pain as well. And I had asked my doctor, I said, you know what, this stuff isn't working for me. These, like the oxycodone and what are their, the opiates, that they were giving me just weren't doing the job. And I had asked him, I said, I feel like if I just have just a little bit of cannabis, that could help my body. And he's like, that was like a no in the hospital. But I actually had some snuck in, so into the hospital. And I'm like, I just knew that I needed to move into more of a yogic place. Those opioids are not good. I just knew that it was just not messing with my consciousness in a way that did not feel good. And it was really hard to find that place on the inside of myself where I know how to access for healing, for self-healing. And I felt like if I had just a little bit of cannabis, I had this feeling that something would open up, because it would shift me out of that 3D kind of place. I felt like I kind of gone into that the soup, if that makes sense, of that 3D mindset, especially in the hospital and all the energy there. So yeah, Ben snuck some in. My bass player snuck some in for me that night into the hospital, and my bestie was right there at my side. My friend Lar, bless her heart, she was like sleeping in the hospital with me at night because I was in such a precarious place, and I had just a little bit, and I swear to you, it's like everything just opened up. Like I just had that feeling. It's just like, just get me a little bit out of that collective 3D consciousness. And all this light started pouring into the room. Just massive light started pouring in. And I had this awareness of Divine Mother's presence come into the room. And I could feel her with me and all around. And my Kundalini, thank God, it just started doing what it knows how to do. It's like now I had permission, and my body just went into Kriyas, started going into Kriyas. And I started being given information about how to shift what was happening on the inside, or I should say what I was experiencing in my body and in the space in the hospital. And what I was shown was that I needed to receive. And I needed to receive the light of and the love of my soul. And I needed to receive all the love that was actually surrounding me in the space. And I wasn't sure exactly what that meant in the moment. It felt like a commandment in a sense, because it didn't feel like, we invite you to look at this. It was like, you must, if you're going to survive. You know, it was like that kind of an energy. It was more like a commandment. And I wasn't sure how to do that, but I started doing it. Like my mind couldn't wrap itself around it. And I started to receive the love, light of my soul. I started to receive the love that was in this space that's always here, that's always present for us. It's just, it never leaves us. And it's in everything. It's imbued in everything that we see, if we allow ourselves to open and receive that love and that healing. What I learned deeply from this time is that what I consider to be healing is truly just going into the vibration of love, that love itself is the healing. And I started shifting the way that I thought about healing. That night, I went from having to go use a restroom every 20 minutes, like I couldn't keep anything down. That was one of the big problems. And I went from being in that state to being completely at peace in my body. My whole system just went and relaxed. I did so good. Like I went from being so like, you know, like to where they thought they were losing me, to like, we don't know what happened to you, but if you want, you can go home. So I was released from the hospital the morning of Good Friday. Now, mind you, like when I went home, I felt so different. Like I was still, you know, I was still weak. I was in my bed and I was weak, but I was not running to the bathroom. I was not in massive amounts of pain. I was not in this state where I couldn't even look at people. Like when I was in that much pain, it's a bizarre feeling, but it's hard to look people in the eyes when you're in that much pain. I really understood why people who are passing, you know, barely look at you. Like it's like they're far away, because it's just like there's so much pain. So it's like, here I was, like I'm looking at my family and people around me, and I'm in my heart. And I felt myself in a completely different space. I can't say I was healed, but I was in a space of peace. And that it was the beginning of my my body's healing, is when Divine Mother, what feels to me when I say Divine Mother, it was the presence to me of the divine feminine, which is complete unconditional love and complete wisdom, like just pure wisdom. So that was a big, it was a big aha moment in my understanding of healing. Greatly shifted from that, and my understanding of embodiment shifted. Like it was the beginning of a completely different dimensional understanding, I would say, of the feminine, and of the masculine as well, and how, they work together within the fullness of who we are, within our consciousness, but also within our body. And that has become foundational in what I share with the world, and what I hope brings peace to people that I work with. What I love about what I've learned by going into like this, I call it the center of creation, because, when we go into the center of ourselves and the center of creation, that's where we have these spontaneous healings. That's where, everything is possible. That's where we receive information that makes all the difference in the quickening of our consciousness. And I would say that what is really opened up for me is the understanding that this experience of being in a body is something that we have all chosen powerfully, that we are not victims of being in a body, but rather that we have chosen to be in this body to grow, just like every other living organism here on this planet. And, choosing to grow like everything else is knowing that we've chosen that even with the hardships. It's like the plants, the medicinal plants, usually have lots of thorns and have ways to protect themselves. They're not like, they're not just all like, ooh, I want to run up to that plant, until you really know. It's like, oh my God, the ones that maybe don't look the most beautiful, that have the thorns and the pricklies, that they are so medicinal. They bring forth just the most amazing healing for us. Well, that's like what I've experienced in life. It's like these real huge challenges that we all go through shape us, and we come forth with even more of our own medicine, for the world. And we may look a little bit more, beaten up in a sense, a little more rugged around the edges after we go through these experiences in life. But that the gift of who we are, the medicine, shines bright through our eyes and through our smile and through the vibration that we carry, just like those plants. And that's a huge teaching that I've received through going through these initiation points in my life. We're not sinful. Like we weren't born sinful, and I don't believe that. I don't believe that we came to get off the karmic wheel of suffering either. So these things that we've been taught and conditioned to believe through our world religions, I think have really set us up to feel less than, set us up to feel like life is a mistake, that we did something wrong. And I really believe, from what I've experienced in the center of creation, that we not only chose to come here, but that this is what God wants, because we are God. That without a body, without form, we are unconditional love, and when we leave these bodies, we will know that once again. But I believe that we, as God, chose to fractalize ourselves into a multiplicity of forms in order to grow, and that this earth obviously is all about growth, because that's what we see everywhere, and we're just like every other, living thing. So, there's a lot to be said. Obviously, I could go on, and I could go into the distinctions of that. There's so much to share about that, but it's pretty simple. And that's what I love too, is I think Ma is about simplicity rather than about this complexity of I've got to learn this mudra or this mantra. And I love mantras and mudras, but I don't believe you have to learn a mantra or a mudra. You don't have to meditate this way or that way, or, go to the top of the mountain with the Tibetan monks and play a toning bowl, in this kind of frequency to experience who you are, which is love in a body. There's many ways up the mountain.
I hear what you're saying. And those are such beautiful thoughts.
The connection to Ma and the divine feminine. You are so that, I seen you perform, and when you do the mantras, in specific the feminine, when you do Ali, that's my favorite song. I love it. That's my when you do that, you become that, and I just want to know, how do you feel when you out there, singing the mantras and you become that mantra and that deity that you're singing on? Because I seen it, so I just want to know how you feel,
Zeffy, I feel so free, and I feel like I'm just being used in the best way, and I always pray to be used by Spirit. I always pray to be used by Ma. And I feel like I'm just being used by Divine Mother to move energy, to open up energy. I think I was brought here in this life to really shake things up energetically, to help move blocked energy. I think my archetype is here to help kind of just move energy. There's these beautiful voices out there that just bring us into like these, these angelic realms. I think that I was brought here to like just shake it up and kind of clear out and allow an access to celebrating all that we are and celebrating our embodiment, celebrating being in a body, which means what I like to call rooting into our bodies before we rise. Like, I'm so about like, okay, we got to root before we rise, to truly be women arising, we have to honor the rooting into the body. And like I like to say, root, rise, and bloom, root, rise, and bloom, because, you see trees, you see flowers, you see everything before it rises, it digs its roots into the ground, it roots in. And to celebrate the body, one of the things we haven't done, and what has been such, I think, a challenge, and why women have been so oppressed and why Earth has been so oppressed, is because we have wanted to get out of the body so much. We wanted to ascend. We've been so focused on ascension. And ascension is amazing and beautiful, and it feels like pure freedom. But if we don't get in our bodies first, and we don't honor our earth, the body is like earth, Mama Earth, then it's not a true rising. it's very precarious. You can get knocked down really easily by the wind and by any storm if you're not rooted when you rise. So I feel like my job is to get people more rooted, and to shake away the false imaginings, of spirituality.
I agree with
Right?
we getting into that. We have gone from being in ascension and then being like out of our bodies, and it's time to be in our bodies, and that's what I love about you. I mean, I know you, I don't know, 10-15 years now, being in the Shakti Fest and and the fest with you, and just watch you, and the grounding is so powerful that is how we can embody each goddess, each form of what we want to, express ourselves to. Even the wild women that you were talking earlier, that is who you are, but we have to ground it. We cannot be wild if we don't ground that energy.
Yes. And I think that grounding has everything to do with self-care. But yeah, honoring the body with drinking our water, putting our intentions into our water. I do breath work every day, like every day. I don't miss days. It's so rare that I miss a day. I do a moving meditation that I was taught by my frequencies, and that's a whole other story, but it's called Riding the Dragon. And I do this meditation, my moving meditation, every day because it helps to ground my kundalini and helps to create a stronger container for that kundalini. Because as I've shared with you, I'm so physically sensitive to this world. So it's ultra important for me to every day connect to my kundalini, to keep my whole body just juicy and connected to source and spirit. So I do that every day. I think self-care, rooting is what do we do to self-care? What are we eating? Our discipline and how we take care of ourselves, and looking at what's really important to us, what matters, right? What truly matters, and honoring that.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to ask you. What do you do? What would you suggest to women out there about, self-care? But in a sense, you answered it. But what I'd like to know is about this the green dragon, or the dragon. It's a green dragon this year, but it's great that we can talk about it. It's the year of the green dragon in the Chinese New Year. But what is the dragon? I want to know about this. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I can. Riding the dragon is a moving meditation. There are 6 layers to it, but there's 2 layers of riding the dragon that are the most, like, they're very foundational. And then there's the 3rd layer is more prescriptive. So I share 2 layers with people, with the world. And then if you really get into dragon riding, then I share the 3rd and the other ones. But there's a lot to learn with it. That's why it's just too much to share with everybody all at once. But the first 2 layers, you sit in easy position, like a yogic easy position, crisscross applesauce position, so to speak. That's what we used to say to my kiddos when they're in school. I'm going to put myself in a crisscross applesauce position right now so I can show you. Okay. So in layer 1, what we do is we focus on the light of our soul. So, when we meditate, that's usually what most of us do, is we focus on that loving light, coming into the body, and bring ourselves into that one-pointed focus as much as we can, while witnessing the mind if it drifts and bringing it back. Well, with layer 1 of riding the dragon, you open to that loving light of your soul. So, or source, however you want to look at it, love. And you begin ever so gently. It's not a fast movement. It's not like in yoga where you're going around the world, you know, the movement like in yoga where you're doing this. It's very, very slow, very slow. It's so that you're really feeling like your muscles, your fascia in your body. It's like you're hugging the inside of your body and you're feeling the light of your soul, the love coming into your body. So the distinction is you're not just this consciousness meditating, a disembodied consciousness. It's you're bringing the light and that love into the body, and you're experiencing the connection with your body as you're moving really slow. And it's like an internal hug. So that's layer one, and your breath is just long and deep in layer one. So and you do this movement just really, just gently and slow, and feeling yourself as you're bringing this love and this light, breathing that into your body. So what that does is it starts to connect the energy of this love with how it feels in your body. So it's not just the consciousness sitting there, which is right, which is a very masculine thing to do in the sense of, okay, I'm sitting like, you know, strong like the mountain and I'm just opening up my consciousness. This is creating this bridge between that expanded loving consciousness and the body in layer one. So it's like we're starting to root into the body. Layer two, even more so. And by the way, you go counterclockwise first, and then you go clockwise. The reason why we do counterclockwise first, and I've been taught inside out about this, is because counterclockwise, I've been taught in the signature movement of the divine feminine. And it also happens to be the rotation of our planet. So our planet rotates counterclockwise. So we begin in honoring of being in the physical body and begin to move with Ma. So we honor, so it's the energy of rooting first. We come into sympathetic resonance with her, and then clockwise is the rising. So we do this, and then layer two, what we do is we move into a visualization even more so. Layer one is more physical, of just feeling the love and the light and feeling the body, like just feeling that, you know, the juiciness of the body. Layer two, we begin to feel ourselves more as soul first. And before you came here, like I always see a council, like I am without a body and I'm in my formlessness and I'm with a council and I'm seriously looking at coming into a body. Like, okay, I'm going to do it. You know, I'm going in. I'm going in there. I'm choosing to do this. So layer two is choosing to come into your body, seeing your incarnation as this incredible opportunity to grow. And so with that choice, you begin to see yourself saying yes to life and coming in, literally like, boom, I'm coming into my body and I'm spiraling in this sacred spiral, counterclockwise once again. I'm coming into my body, I'm inhaling on my left side, and then I exhale as I come around to my right and I root into the earth. I root into my body, I root into the earth, I root into the juiciness of this body. So I also feel into the Kundalini energy in the body and all the sensuality in my body as well, as I am going in that counterclockwise movement. And clockwise, we open up our hearts and receive the medicine of ourselves now that we're in a body. So I'm receiving the fullness of who I am, my personality, my soul. It's together we rise. So soul, personality, body, together we rise. All of us, the village within, so to speak. And we and we receive ourselves, and we receive our medicine, and we receive then also part of the meditation is clockwise, is receiving people in our life as well. So it could be people that you love deeply, that you're receiving, seeing the highest in them, and I should say receiving people that you have more challenges with in life too. So the ones that are kind of like the sacred grit in your life, seeing the highest of the medicine that's happening between the two of you. So receiving that, receiving the love, and then giving love to those people, giving love to the world around you, giving love to yourself. It's all like heart work as we rise. Together we rise in love. So that's 2 layers.
That's a very good advice, because we forget everything that you just described in our daily life. Every single person forgets it. And, you don't have to be just a woman to really understand that. Also, the masculine needs to understand that we forget the feminine receiving part and the giving part to ourselves. Yeah. So that is beautiful.
I don't know. I absolutely love the together we rise, and this sense of together each other and together all of the different aspects of ourselves. And I love that image of that sacred spiral in the rise. And I just always learn so much from you, Larisa. Every time I get to hear from you and talk to you, you have such a beautiful and unique way of looking at things and sharing them and inspiring so many people through all the different avenues of the work you do. And with that in mind, I'd love for you to tell us about, how, if somebody wants to connect with you, or anything that you'd like to share about some of the upcoming things that you're doing for people to know about.
Well, my website is one place, although I have to be honest, it's time for a haul over with my website. It's larisastow.com. In fact, I'm in the midst of working it out on paper. But that's a place just to see and experience what I am creating. But another place is actually on Facebook. I have a page called Larisa's Shakti Love Warriors on Facebook, and we do daily meditations there. And I lead once a week, but there's one Thursday a month that Susan Huff also leads on a Thursday, but we have daily meditations, either online or offline together. So that's a great place just to, in an everyday kind of way, to connect in, and I share there a lot. I'm going to be taking a group to Bali coming up, which I'm excited about, in June. So we're going to be doing a lot of dragon riding, in Bali. And it's one of my favorite things to do is to take people to Bali. And this is the first time in 6 years since the pandemic that I'm taking a group. I used to take groups every couple years. And I had a big group going in 2020, but obviously that got canceled, and we're finally going back, and I have a few spots available right now. It's mostly sold out, but I've got some spots. So if people are interested in that, that's a really fun, deep, immersion. That's my favorite, to be honest with you. I like doing that work, and I know you do too, Zeffy. I know that's, important to you, and I bet it is to you too, Kathy, that, working with people one-on-one in person is honestly my favorite way to work with people. So that's happening in June. It's June 14th through the 25th of June. And in Shiloh, So the reason why I would say my presence in the world in the sense of online, and even I haven't been doing as much touring with the band and doing all that, because my full energy has been going so into creating this retreat space in Cornville called Shiloh, which is a place not only for myself to lead retreats. I'm truly working on curating a space for people like you two to come in and where you would have a home space that is just awesome. Like where you come and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This is the kind of space that I want to create for our community, for our luminaries to share their medicine. I'm excited to share other people's medicine too, just like you're sharing, having me on. It's like, I think that's what the we is all about. I'm super excited about the we, and that's also a huge piece I learned in 2019, and why it's together we rise as well. Like that piece, it's the we is so important right now. So that's where my energy is going big time, is into creating a beautiful we space for us to collectively continue to amplify everything that we're learning, because it's happening. Like we're in a quickening of consciousness right now. And I think we are kind of like, I don't know what the word would be, but it's like we are exponentially growing in each other's presence is what I'm experiencing. It's like, I think we're more open than ever to be like, oh my gosh, thank you for that piece that you're sharing. A dot just connected. Now I'm able to share this. Now I get this on the inside of myself. And we are just like bouncing off of each other and boom, 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 boom. I think we're growing a lot right now. So Shiloh is hopefully going to be a part of that, a part of helping to grow consciousness.
So excited. I can't wait.
Me too.
Of the work that you've been doing and you're going to continue doing.
Yeah. I'd like to thank you so much for coming on our podcast and sharing all of your wisdom with us today, and all of the amazing parts of your journey and the things that you learned. And the idea of rising together is so important, because that lines up so well with what Zeffy and I are trying to accomplish with this podcast. So thank you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and Zeffy's heart as well.
Thank you. You two are just such beautiful sisters and just love bugs.
We have there to give you a huge hug like we always gave to each other.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, thank you.
Well, we thank our listeners for tuning in, and we're just really excited for you to connect with Larisa and all the amazing, wonderful things that she's doing, and be a part of this group that's rising together. I love that. Thank you for tuning in to Women Arising, where we celebrate the resilience, wisdom, and power of women on the rise. Remember, when women rise, we all rise. If you're ready to embark on your journey of empowerment, sign up for our mailing list at womenarising.com and join our community of strong, inspiring women. To connect with Zeffy Devi and ignite your inner fire, visit zeffydevi.com and sign up to get your free tantric meditation. Let Zeffy illuminate your path, helping you discover the magic and power that reside within you. To connect with Kathy Hartenstein and claim your spectacularness, visit createmorebliss.com and sign up for a free 30-minute consult call where she can help you break through your emotional blocks to success. Let Kathy be your guide on this journey of self-discovery and empowerment. Thank you for being a part of the Women Arising community. Together, let's continue to uplift, inspire, and empower women everywhere. Until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and keep embracing the divine feminine power that resides within you.
You are the Holy Grail, the Magdalene. Woman, no need to search any longer.